So it's a pleasure to talking to you, Thomas. Thank you so much for be open and talk about SharePoint Premium as part of my Copilot Your Day LinkedIn newsletter. But maybe let's start with introduce yourself.
Yes. So hi, Pascal. I'm Thomas Eklund. So I'm a Teams technical specialist, or let's say modern workplace technical specialist in Microsoft Switzerland. And I cover basically all the modern workplace topics. Of course, right now, a lot of Gen AI and Copilot, but as well, everything around Syntax, SharePoint Premium, and of course, Teams and Microsoft Places, etc.
Awesome. And I think Copilot, of course, is one of the big topics right now. Everything is about Copilot at Microsoft. And now is SharePoint Premium coming. Where do you see this great potential in SharePoint Premium in general?
Yeah, so I think this is really where it's interesting. So as you know, of course, SharePoint is really the heart of Microsoft 365. It's where we store all documents now. The whiteboard is stored there. Loop components are stored in SharePoint. And of course, when I say SharePoint, I mean SharePoint and OneDrive, since this is the same backend service. So of course, with all of this information that customers have stored in SharePoint, leveraging SharePoint Premium features / Syntax, because we have still both names for the same product. So maybe I share this at the beginning, but basically here you can enhance the quality of your metadata and do many cool things like translate documents in the flow of work directly in SharePoint without needing any external services. So it really helps also maintain your governance and avoid using different public services to translate data, in example.
And this is exactly what I also experience at different customer. I think a lot of customers do know they have not a proper data governance or data lifecycle right now on SharePoint in general. And this really comes to the surface now. They're starting to use Copilot. Maybe they have different version of documents. Maybe they have a oversharing. Is this also something you experience in the discussion with your customer or even internally?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think Copilot really put to light or put, let's say, the spotlight on this whole governance and data governance issues that many customers have. So, of course, not labeling files is an issue. Oversharing, as you mentioned, is also a potential issue, which for me already existed before because we have anyways Microsoft Search, which has been there for many, many years, which is very powerful. Some customers still don't realize that they have access to this Microsoft Search right now without any additional licenses. And of course, with Copilot, which uses this Microsoft Search capability to then bring Gen AI into modern workplace, it potentially shows all these, let's say, security information links, but also as well, simply having outdated information is a problem because then Copilot may reference a document which is completely out of date and wrong. So that is also a potential risk that needs to be addressed. And oftentimes retention policies, when you ask the question to customers, do you have a retention policy program within the company for legal or non-legal reasons? The answer is often no. And of course, this also has a problem with and a big impact on the storage quota in SharePoint. So it creates many challenges.
Yeah, thank you for this insights. But I think also important to mention is that SharePoint Premium or data governance in general, of course, it comes up with Copilot, but this is a really important topic in general, whether you use Copilot or not, to really improve your data quality and give the right tools and guidelines to your employees to really use SharePoint in general in a proper way.
Absolutely. And that's really critical and a key part of any initiative.
So since SharePoint Premium is quite new, you or we've created or prepared also a demo part. So maybe we just go into screen sharing and then guide through this SharePoint Premium process in general. I think this is super interesting to see how big the use cases are in general with SharePoint Premium.
Absolutely. So maybe just before I start screen sharing, it's important to understand that most of the features in SharePoint Premium and Syntax are a pay-as-you-go model, meaning that you will require as a first step having a Azure subscription, a specific resource group, which you have access to. And this will be the first step in the admin center where you link your Azure subscription to your M365 environment, which will then light up these different capabilities. So let's take a look
at for the end user, there is no per user license, so they really have only to pay kind of what SharePoint Premium delivers in benefit. So as much they use it, the services, as much they pay or as less they pay, right?
Exactly. For most features, it's pay as you go. There will be at some point a SharePoint Premium per user license, but only for a very small feature set. We don't yet have the details, so I will not discuss this. We can, of course, we will do a follow-up blog post once we have this clarity. But right now, features are pay as you go.
Great. So we are starting from the admin perspective, aren't we?
Exactly. So here we're in the admin center of my Contoso Electronics demo tenant. And the easiest to get started is simply in the search bar at the top to type in syntax. And yes, it's still under the keyword syntax. And you will see here that you have the link towards the features, or if we want the full page, I think it was the third result, so automate content process with syntax. So this is really where you want to go. And
so maybe in the future, sorry, just to interrupt, maybe in the future when you don't see any answers under the label of syntax, just search, for example, for SharePoint Premium, since this is quite dynamic.
Yes, our marketing loves changing product names.
Awesome.
So here we can see the setup. So I already have the pay-as-you-go billing configured. But it's very, very simple. So you will see that it says here to click setup. Then you are able to select your subscription, your resource group, and in this case, the region. So this is a US tenant, but this is really the only steps that are required. And then basically in your Azure cost center, you can see the cost of each feature. Once this step is done, it will basically light up all these different services. So as we can see, now the menu is constructed in different submenus: document and image processing, videos, and storage. I will start very quickly with the storage part. So here, this is where you will find the M365 archive. So this is to archive SharePoint sites for long-term storage, as it's mentioned here. This is brand new GA since I think a month ago, and it allows you to very simply archive entire sites to cheaper storage, which basically, if you are not over your SharePoint quota right now, it will not incur any cost. You will simply save on your quota, and if you're already over quota, it will help you decrease this and maybe potentially reduce as well the extra storage that you need to purchase from Microsoft. The second part is the backup, which is the ability to back up SharePoint, OneDrive, and Exchange. And then, of course, you can there decide if you want to back up the entire tenant with different snapshots per day, or if you want to do only specific groups, etc. So this is fully configurable. And this is really a turnkey solution which addresses some customer needs. Keep in mind that, of course, partner solutions are still super important, or at least necessary for some other use cases, like if you want data to be outside of the control of Microsoft, in example, on-prem or in another cloud provider. Of course, in those cases, you can still leverage those partner solutions, which are also able to use the new APIs that we've created for our own service. So, of course, since we enhanced this whole product, our partners also have access to this feature. Let's quickly take a look at videos. I won't go into too much detail here, but here the ability is to basically create transcripts of your videos directly in SharePoint on specific sites. And we can see here that there's a simple on and off switch for the tenant. Now, going to the document and images, this is where we have many existing options, which are not new. But this morning I had the nice surprise to see that the autofill columns feature has now rolled out to two of my demo tenants. And this is, I will end with the full demo on this feature, so I will not spoil the rest of the demonstration yet. We can see here the second content assembly. It allows you to create modern templates in SharePoint. An example, if you have contracts or different types of information, you can then create them with dynamic information coming from a list or from Dataverse. You can even call them with Power Automate to then generate documents in an automated fashion. We then have what we call the content center. This is where you can manage your SharePoint and /syntax models. An example, and I will quickly show you afterwards, but you have out-of-the-box models or custom models, which allow you to extract metadata directly on documents. Then we can do, of course, document translation. So here it's very simple. You can decide, I want to translate these documents, select the output language, and then we automatically detect which language we have in the document and then translate to another one. It simply creates a copy. It maintains the layout and the style of the document, and everything happens automatically without the data leaving the tenant. E-signature I will not cover today as it's currently only limited to the US market, and this is a US tenant, that's why it's there. We do hope that it will start coming to Europe sometime this summer, but it requires a lot of work with the different regulations, etc., to be compliant from an e-signature perspective. But very simply, this allows you to create e-signatures with our own syntax, but also with Adobe Sign, DocuSign integrated in the file viewer in M365. We then have image tagging. This allows you to add words and keywords basically based on the pictures that you add to your tenant. OCR, so in case you have images, it will extract any text that is in there, even handwritten text. And then we will find taxonomy tagging. So if you have a SharePoint term store taxonomy in the company, we can now tag documents automatically with the right taxonomy tag. And that's also just a super cool improvement for users instead of doing it manually.
Now let's start. And I think just one thing, I think what we see here is really interesting, that we could leverage the usage of SharePoint in general to improve the quality kind of a automatically way, starting from use your taxonomy, do autofill, but then also in the future to really, for example, have this contract center, have the right templates in place, translate it to different languages, and then start kicking off, for example, sending you a contract, Thomas, and you could easily sign and get it automatically back into SharePoint. So the whole process is really in the flow of work, as you mentioned,
exactly,
without any leaving of the system.
Exactly. Yep. So the contract, if you have you ask for an e-signature, basically the person on the other end receives a link to the file. They will sign it electronically, but the file doesn't leave your storage. So it's not sent by email or anything. So it's really super smooth. So let's start here just with the content center. So as you can see, out of the box, we can create one content center, which is just a SharePoint site, which will help you then get started. So there is a quick training wizard, which basically gives you a tour. And if we go here to models, this is where we have the ability to create either custom models or out-of-the-box models. So at the bottom, we have pre-built models, meaning that Microsoft has pre-trained the models for you. So all you have to do is select an example contract processing, decide that you want to apply it to a specific library, and then it will start working without any customization required. We also have invoice processing and receipt processing. So these are, as I said, pre-built. Very soon you'll see as well a new one called sensitivity or sensitive information processing, where we're able as well to detect sensitive information in documents and extract those as metadata. And then, of course, we have the different methods of training a custom model. So in the backend, it's, of course, either AI Builder or Azure Forms Recognition, which is used. But here, everything is packaged in a way that it's super easy to get started and use this information. Now, I will quickly... So here, just to show you in a few simple steps. So this is the SharePoint template for account payable, so for invoices. So we can see here that in this document library, we have different invoices, and that all this metadata, so vendor name, vendor address, due date, etc., has been extracted automatically by the model. And here, if we click on the classify and extract button, we have here the invoice model, which is the out-of-the-box model which is used. And of course, we're able to fully customize which fields we want to add. And as you can see, we can as well decide with that model to apply either a retention label or a sensitivity label. So this comes on top of what we can do with trainable classifiers in Purview. And of course, it's the same labels as in Purview. It's not another solution. So it's completely integrated here.
Are we always limited to one specific model per library?
No, you can decide to apply specific several models. So typically, some customers, I had a nice use case around HR documents, and they had basically one library which was for all incoming documents, where then they had different models applied to basically detect if it was a CV or if it was motivation letter, etc. So all of these kind of HR documents, it would then label it as being either a CV, etc. And then based on that, the information would be moved with Power Automate directly to the right library, and then they would extract the right information.
You can really do the whole process, of course, especially in combination with Power Automate. And then maybe,
Exactly.
as you mentioned, with peer review in general, to then also get done with the sensitivity labels.
Exactly. So I will just see here. So you can see here the different options where this model is applied. And here in the top right, we have the model settings. So this is where you can define the sensitivity label. So an example for invoices, I could define, okay, maybe this is finance documents, and I want to, let's say, retain them 7 years. This doesn't really make sense in terms of this demo, but this is what I have in my demo tenant. Once I do that, automatically any new files that are added to the library will as well get these labels if they are detected as being an invoice. Now, so I mentioned at the beginning the translation feature. So here we can see there's an invoice. Let's just quickly check. So this is in English, and basically I can simply take this invoice, go here, and then I have the translate button, which is available here. I can then simply click. We see under there that we already have a factual1_de. So I already translated it to German, but let's translate it to French. And as you can see, just one click, and of course I can select multiple files at once, but in a few seconds we'll have the same document, facture_fr, which will be, of course, in French. So super easy way to translate documents. An example, if you're receiving, let's say, bids for a specific RFP, and maybe some people reply in English, some in French, etc., you can basically have everything translated in the language that you want, which really facilitates all of this. While this happens, let's quickly go to the marketing images here. And in this document library, I have basically image tagging turned on and OCR. So let's take this picture. So as you can see, it's part of my Lego city. Yes, I'm a big Lego fan. I think like many people these days. But here, why I took this picture is because we can see, of course, the Lego logo. We can read as well Diner and as well, I think, Jazz Club. So here, basically, if we look at the tags, we have building, construction set, toy, indoor, Lego, scale model, toy, train, vehicle. So of course, those were all in that picture. And then we can as well see that the text diner was detected, and as well the Lego and total. And I can't remember why it says CPO, but I think there is a reason somewhere in there. But basically, it found all the text in that image and it extracted as metadata directly. Oh, this is really
could be helpful
cool.
to find the right pictures through search or something like that, right?
Yes, yeah. Absolutely. And as I mentioned, it even works with handwriting. So here, this is an example of a letter that a friend of my daughter has written to my daughter. So of course, it's a 6-year-old child, so it's not perfect handwriting. It's full of mistakes. But as you can see, even here, the OCR capability is able to basically understand and read most of the text and add this as metadata.
Cool.
One last thing I will point out on the OCR is that you can also leverage OCR, so the same technology within Purview. to as well do DLP. So one example is very simple. If you have a DLP policy for credit cards in your tenant, the OCR can detect that a credit card picture was taken instead of an email, an example. And that works super easily and very well. So that's really super cool. And it's just one click to turn this on the tenant.
And I think this is important to have in mind. It's not whether SharePoint Premium or Purview, but it's really better together, and they leverage each other to get the most out of the different functionalities to then have kind of everything automated or under right governance.
That's correct. Now let's just start from scratch with the new autofill. So I'm going to create a new theme site. I'm just going to use a standard template for this demo, and I will call it accident reports. Just add one user as well.
So you can use SharePoint Premium, of course, for complete new site collections or teams, of course, where SharePoint is also in the background, but also to existing ones.
Exactly. So here, let's just upload one file first for the example. So let me just take this here.
Yeah, now it works.
Okay. So here, this is, as we can see, an accident report in German. Let's now just take a look at this new autofill feature. So here, I'm just going to add a new column. Let's, for the moment, just use text. Here, I will say language of the document. And as we can see, we now have the autofill feature with a setup button. So I'll simply click here and I will say what language is in the document. And of course, I do many typos. And here, what's quite cool, or we can even see now there's an example. So so even better, what languages are present in this document? If no language is found, respond with not found. What languages are mentioned? And I put it twice. Sorry about that. There. So
okay,
here,
that's
this
cool.
is
so you can define a prompt per different column to then really specify your thoughts or what you're really expecting on an output. So there's also where, of course, AI come into place directly for this use case.
Exactly. So here we can see it seems that there is some German, French, Italian, and English. This is very possible because it's an official federal document. So now let's just click save and save. Now, of course, by default, they will not run on existing documents, but let's just create another column here, and I will use this time multi-line text. I will call it vehicle type. So I wrote it in French. Sorry about that. Was involved in this accident or incident. If unable to determine, please write. So again, here we can test it. So in this case, it was, I think, a truck. So it seems that this prompt works as well. So now let's click here, save. And let's just create one last multi-line text. And we'll just call it victims, or let's say injuries or deaths. It seems that I'm not good at live typing.
The pressure of a live recording.
Exactly. Were any people injured or killed in the report. Please specify, and always be polite with AI. Please specify.
It's super important to have also here the best practices about prompting in place. I think there's a spelling mistake where without the H.
Content filter. Okay. So I think the word killed. This is responsible AI. So let's try with deaths. Something else, or it's just a demo effect. I mean, the feature rolled out this morning, so there may still be some issues. Okay, so let me try the prompt that it came up with. Was anyone injured in this incident? Okay, let's try it this way. Okay, so maybe it's just an issue on this file, so I'll still save it and apply. So I will now upload all my other reports, and we will then wait for the magic to happen. This will take a few minutes. And in the meantime, I will quickly come back here. I forgot to mention, but for each feature, you are able to decide, of course, if you turn the feature on or off. So of course you have full governance capabilities there. So if you want to test it on a specific library, most of the features can be scoped as well. So in this case, all my SharePoint sites have it, but you can of course decide to select only a few sites. So if you want to do a very small proof of concept, you can create one test site, and of course with only a few admin users, so that you can then test this feature or simply turn it off completely. So most of our features can be really at the site level. I think it's the same for image tagging and for OCR as well, it's the case.
Yep.
And what I did mention again while we wait, so the image tagging, to turn this on, it's super simple. Here, if you click on automate, you have configure image tagger. And then, of course, since the feature is already enabled, I can disable it. But as you can see, it's just one toggle on the library, and then automatically you get these cool keywords. And I think, just to show you live as well.
And always keep in mind, of course, you can then, for example, in our extend report demo, when, for example, not found is written, you could create via Power Automate, for example, a task or something like that to then double check. So you have really the capabilities with the whole Power Platform and M365 to build up your whole process.
Exactly. So here I'll just upload a new image. So this was actually one, it's okay, so it's already present. So bad example. Okay, this one I don't think it's here. So here, this is simply a picture with the different signature rooms that we have for Microsoft Teams rooms. So here, I guess we will have some information extracted, and we'll get as well some text from this picture. Now let's go back to the accident reports, and we can see that the processing has happened. So here we can see that most documents we have all three languages. I guess this is to be expected since these are official documents. We have as well an aircraft, a tram, etc., or even the aircraft type. And then here, injuries or death not found, yes, was fatally injured, yes, etc. So here we can see, and of course we can enhance the prompts to then even get better results. But you can see it's just a few clicks and you're able to extract information very, very simply.
And the autofill functionality is always limited to one selected site collection, or could you also use it, for example, for taxonomy metadata to then help also to identify which metadata should be used in the different columns?
So for taxonomy, you need to use the automatic taxonomy tagging feature and have existing taxonomy. I'm not sure if we will be able to couple both. It may be possible, but currently I don't think this is the case.
Yeah, since it just rolled out these days.
Exactly. So if you don't have it in your tenant, it's rolling out until the end of June. So I do have it in 2 out of 4 of my tenants since this morning. So please be patient, but it's definitely coming.
Cool.
So that
Super
concludes
nice.
my demo. Hopefully
Thank
it
you so
was
much.
useful.
Where do you see the greatest potential, maybe for customer to see where SharePoint Premium comes into place?
I mean, the let's say the most easiest use cases are, of course, contracts, invoices, etc. We will be as well releasing a contracts app directly in Teams, of course, leveraging these different models to help you manage the end-to-end process for your contracts in the company. So, of course, this will be quite cool. But then it's really enhancing the metadata and basically your search index to then help people find the documents that they need to. And one typical example, one customer was basically taking scans of all their metal pieces that they have been constructing for many, many years. These basically had a predetermined, let's say, layout in one corner with the parts, metal parts, etc., that were used. So, of course, there was quite easy to create a document understanding model to extract that as metadata. But also some had just handwritten information on that, and there the OCR is able to extract that. And then basically, if the person needs to find the right file, instead of going in their archive in the basement of the company, they can just search in the SharePoint site and find the information very quickly. So it really helps, I think, in those kind of use cases as well.
Oh, nice. And I think it's quite overwhelming when we think about connecting the different dots from Purview to SharePoint Premium, but then also at Build was announced with the custom co-pilots in SharePoint.
Yep.
And it really goes hand into hand to leverage all the usage within your M365. And when you think about how the best way to describe a document through metadata or columns, to then have also specific custom co-pilots or co-pilot in general, I think this is really a game changer to improve the quality of the answers.
Absolutely.
Super nice. Anything you would like to add up about SharePoint Premium or something general?
I think we've covered most of the things that I wanted to address today. What I would really encourage customers to do is to try these features. It's not complicated to test them, as I said, in a very small and controlled environment. And just to see the different use cases that they could have for their different departments. Because oftentimes what happens is, of course, Microsoft, we talk a lot with IT, but they don't realize that sometimes the finance department, the legal department, they have really these challenges, and they have this immense quantity of data. And with these features, they can basically really enhance the day-to-day work of their employees and gain time, etc.
Yeah, definitely. And I think since we are able to limit to specific sites, we then really can do this proof of concept and starting from one document-centric approach to see how this could involve the company in general. And of
Absolutely.
course, make sure to connect with Thomas on LinkedIn and feel free to ask Thomas or myself about SharePoint Premium, Copilot, and all the other exciting stuff that comes with M365.
Yep,
Thank you so
absolutely.
much, Thomas, for your time. It was a pleasure to talking to you about SharePoint Premium, and we will definitely do a second block once new features are available.
Absolutely, with pleasure. Thank you, Pascal. Pleasure
Thank you.
talking
See
to
you
you.
soon.
Yeah, bye-bye.